Dr. Sarah Chen rubbed her tired eyes as she stared at the stream of data flowing across her holographic display. The Pluto array had been picking up unusual patterns for the past 3 days, and she was determined to decode their meaning. Outside her window at the lunar observatory, Earth hung like a brilliant blue jewel against the stark blackness of space. "Dr. Chen, you might want to see this." Marcus Kim, her graduate assistant, gestured excitedly at his own display. The pattern just changed. Sarah moved to his station, her eyes widening as she processed the new information. The seemingly random pulses of energy had organized themselves into a clear mathematical sequence. "This isn't random noise from a pulsar," she whispered. "This is a message." The revelation sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Within hours, observatories across the solar system confirmed the signal. Humanity had just received its first definitive proof of intelligent alien life, and they were trying to communicate. Sarah led the team working to decode the message. What they found stunned them all. The signal contained detailed star maps, mathematical proofs, and most surprisingly, a complete guide to faster-than-light communication. It was as if someone had decided to hand humanity the keys to the galaxy. "They're not just saying hello," Sarah explained to the hastily assembled United Earth Council. "They're inviting us to join something called the Stellar Concordat. Based on the data they've shared, it's an alliance of civilizations spanning at least a third of the Milky Way." The council chamber erupted in excited murmurs, but Sarah raised her hand for silence. "There's more. They've given us 1 month to respond. After that," she paused, choosing her words carefully. "After that, they say we'll face isolation. They've included images of what appears to be some kind of energy barrier they can create around star systems." Director James Wong of the Space Defense Force leaned forward. "Are we looking at a threat, Dr. Chen?" "I don't believe so, Director. The tone of their message is diplomatic, professional. It's more like receiving an invitation to join an exclusive organization. They're laying out their terms clearly." As if to emphasize her point, the massive displays around the chamber lit up with new data from Mars Observation Station. Enormous energy signatures had appeared in orbit around the red planet, and within moments, a ship emerged from what appeared to be a tear in space itself. The vessel defied conventional physics. Its surface rippled like liquid metal, yet sensors indicated it was harder than any material known to science. It took up a position that placed it exactly between Mars and Earth, a move that seemed deliberately calculated to demonstrate both power and restraint. "They're showing us what they can do," Sarah realized aloud. "This isn't just first contact, it's an evaluation. They want to see how we react." The ship's presence sparked a global conversation. Social media exploded with theories and reactions, ranging from excitement to fear. But what caught Sarah's attention was something subtler. The ship's position kept shifting by microscopic amounts, adjustments so small that only the most sensitive instruments could detect them. Working through the night, Sarah and her team decoded the purpose of these tiny movements. "They're dancing," she announced to the council the next morning. "The ship is moving in response to the electromagnetic rhythms of our solar system, the solar wind, planetary magnetospheres, even our own radio transmissions. They're not just watching us. They're trying to understand our essence." As humanity prepared its response to the Concordat's invitation, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than a simple diplomatic overture. The precision of their approach, the complexity of their message, and the subtle grace of their demonstration hinted at depths yet unrevealed. She was right. No one could have predicted how this first contact would reshape humanity's understanding of not just the galaxy, but of themselves. The dance had begun, and Earth's next steps would echo across the cosmos. The landing site had been prepared in the Namib Desert, far from major population centers. As dawn broke over the red dunes, Dr. Sarah Chen stood alongside the delegation of Earth's representatives, her heart racing as the Concordat ship descended from the clouds. Unlike conventional spacecraft, it moved with impossible grace, its crystalline surface refracting the morning sunlight into prismatic patterns across the sand. Ambassador Maria Torres stepped forward as the vessel settled onto the ground. "Remember," she whispered to the assembled group, "no sudden movements. We follow the protocol exactly as planned." The ship's surface rippled, and a section melted away to reveal 3 figures that seemed to be made of living crystal. Their translucent bodies pulsed with internal light, creating patterns that Sarah recognized from her studies of the original transmission. They were communicating among themselves. The tallest of the 3 beings stepped forward. Its voice emerged not from any visible mouth, but seemed to resonate from its entire form. "We are the emissaries of the stellar Concordat. We bring greetings to Earth." Sarah watched in fascination as the crystals within the aliens' form shifted, creating harmonics that translated their words into perfect English. The technology involved was beyond anything humanity had imagined possible. Ambassador Torres began her prepared welcome, but the second emissary raised what might have been a hand, interrupting her. "We observed something unexpected," it said. "Your world resonates with patterns we have not encountered before." The third emissary moved toward a group of local musicians who had been invited to perform a welcome ceremony. They had been waiting quietly with their instruments, but now the alien's approach caused the strings of an unattended violin to vibrate sympathetically. "Fascinating," the first emissary commented. "Your tools of sound creation respond to our presence. This requires investigation." What followed was not the formal diplomatic exchange that had been planned, but something far more intriguing. The emissaries became captivated by the musicians, requesting demonstrations of different instruments and analyzing how sound waves interacted with their crystalline forms. Sarah noticed something remarkable. "Ambassador," she whispered to Torres, "look at their internal light patterns. They're changing in response to the music." The emissaries' next demonstration left everyone speechless. They raised their crystalline appendages in unison, and suddenly Europa, Jupiter's ice-covered moon, appeared in the sky as a holographic projection so realistic it seemed close enough to touch. As the musicians played, the emissaries manipulated the image, showing how they had adjusted the moon's orbit by mere centimeters to study its subsurface oceans. "We share this demonstration," the lead emissary explained, "to show both our capabilities and our restraint. We could have moved Europa significantly, but we understand such actions would disrupt your solar system's harmony." Ambassador Torres seized the moment. "You speak of harmony. Our music demonstrates that harmony can arise from different instruments playing different notes. Perhaps our differences could create a similar harmony in the galaxy." The emissaries' internal lights pulsed rapidly as they processed this concept. The lead emissary turned to its companions, their crystalline forms resonating in what seemed to be intense discussion. Finally, it turned back to the human delegation. "Your species thinks in patterns we did not expect. This creates uncertainty. Uncertainty is not common in the Concordat." Sarah stepped forward, despite protocol. "Isn't uncertainty the first step toward discovery?" The emissaries' forms shimmered with new patterns. "A profound observation," the leader acknowledged. "We must reconsider our initial assessment of your species. There is more here to study than we anticipated." As the sun climbed higher over the desert, humans and aliens began an exchange that would challenge both species' understanding of civilization, progress, and the true meaning of harmony. The Concordat had expected to find another species to assimilate into their perfect order. Instead, they had discovered something far more valuable. A civilization that might teach them something new. Maya Patel's hands danced across the neural interface controls of her experimental spacecraft, the Starwaver. As Earth's youngest test pilot at 23, she had earned her place in the joint Human Concordat Space Exploration Initiative through sheer talent. The crystalline emissary observing her from the co-pilot's seat pulsed with patterns that she had learned to recognize as curiosity. "Your neural patterns are irregular," the emissary noted, its internal lights flickering in what Maya had begun to interpret as confusion. "You pilot this vessel using what you call intuition. Yet our sensors cannot quantify this process." Maya smiled as she guided the Starweaver through a series of complex maneuvers near Jupiter's swirling atmosphere. Sometimes you have to feel the ship, not just think about it. It's like dancing with a partner. The emissary's crystalline form vibrated slightly. A gesture Maya had learned meant it was processing new information. Your species consistently references these emotional and physical connections to inanimate objects. Our scientists find this most perplexing. Dr. Sarah Chen's voice crackled over the communication system. Maya, we're picking up some unusual readings from the quantum sensor array. The Conquerors' AI is suggesting an immediate course correction to heading Mark 347. Maya frowned, her hands hovering over the controls. Something felt wrong about that heading, though she couldn't explain why. Years of flying had taught her to trust her instincts, requesting permission to maintain current course with a slight adjustment to Mark 351 instead. There was a pause as the Conquerors' AI presumably calculated the risks. Pilot Patel, a synthetic voice responded. Our calculations indicate your suggested course poses a 7.3% higher risk of. The AI's transmission cut off as a massive spatial distortion suddenly materialized exactly where their recommended course would have taken them. Maya's alternate route kept them at a safe distance, though the Starweaver's sensors still crackled with energy from the phenomenon. Impossible, the emissary stated, its crystalline form now pulsing with rapid patterns of light. Our quantum predictive engines are precise to 9 decimal places. How did you anticipate this anomaly? Back at Mission Control, Dr. Chen was already analyzing the data. Her team had been studying the differences between human and Conquerors decision-making processes for months. The neural monitoring devices attached to Maya during her flight were revealing something extraordinary. Look at these brainwave patterns, Sarah explained to the assembled human and Conquerors scientists. When Maya made her decision, she was processing information from multiple cognitive domains simultaneously: spatial awareness, pattern recognition, and even emotional memory. The Conquerors' AI processes these separately. The lead emissary's form shifted to a deeper blue hue, indicating intense focus. Our evolution led us toward perfect logical segregation of thought processes. We considered this the peak of cognitive development. But that's just it, Sarah continued, excitement building in her voice. Human brains evolved differently. We developed neural pathways that connect seemingly unrelated areas of thought. What you see as chaos in our thinking is actually a complex web of interconnected processing. Maya's successful prediction of the spatial anomaly became the first of many instances where human intuition proved to be more than just random chance. The Conquerors scientists were particularly intrigued by humans' ability to make creative leaps in logic that their advanced AI couldn't replicate. Perhaps, the lead emissary announced during a subsequent council meeting, we have been measuring advancement by the wrong metrics. The human capacity to interface multiple cognitive domains simultaneously suggests evolutionary paths we had not considered possible. As Maya landed the Starweaver back at the lunar base, she remained unaware of the profound impact her feeling about the flight path had caused. The Conquerors had begun to realize that humanity's greatest strength lay not in matching their logical perfection, but in transcending it altogether. The discovery would reshape the balance of power in ways no one could have predicted, as humanity's unique cognitive abilities proved to be just the beginning of what made Earth's children special among the stars. The stellar labyrinth floated in the center of the United Earth Council chamber, its holographic corridors and chambers shifting in impossible geometric patterns. For centuries, the Conquerors had used this test to evaluate new species, with most taking decades to solve even its first level. Now they watched in astonishment as 12-year-old Zara Rodriguez tilted her head at the projection. "It's kind of like that puzzle game on my quantum tablet," she said, reaching out to manipulate the holographic interface. Her brother Carlos, 2 years younger, nodded in agreement. Dr. Sarah Chen watched from the observation deck alongside the crystalline emissaries, whose internal lights flickered rapidly as they processed what they were seeing. The council had been skeptical about letting children attempt the test, but Sarah had insisted after noticing similarities between the labyrinth's patterns and popular human puzzle games. Your younglings approached this as entertainment. The lead emissary's tone carried what Sarah had learned to recognize as bewilderment. Zara's fingers danced through the air, spinning and rearranging segments of the maze. Look, Carlos. If you think of it like building with light blocks, the paths sort of want to go certain ways. It's like they're playing with us. The emissary's crystals vibrated in unison as the first level of the labyrinth responded to Zara's manipulations, its patterns aligning in ways that had taken other species years of mathematical calculations to achieve. Impossible, one of the Concordat's scientific observers stated. They are not applying the necessary quantum spatial equations. They cannot be solving it. But they were. As more children were invited to join the session, the stellar labyrinth became the site of what looked more like a playful collaboration than a serious test. 8-year-old twins from Kenya suggested treating the light patterns like a dance. A teenage girl from Norway noticed that humming certain tones made the patterns respond harmonically. They're not trying to solve it, Sarah realized aloud. They're playing with it. And somehow, that's exactly what it wants. The lead emissary's form shifted to a deep indigo, a color Sarah had never seen them display before. This test was designed to evaluate a species' capability for complex mathematical and logical progression. Yet these younglings are achieving solutions through joy. Within hours, the children had collaboratively worked through levels that had taken other civilizations centuries to decode. They treated each new challenge as an invitation to play, their laughter echoing through the chamber as they discovered new ways to interact with the ancient puzzle. "We believe we understand," the lead emissary finally announced, its crystalline form resonating with harmonic overtones. "Your species has retained something that others, including ourselves, lost in our pursuit of advancement. You can perceive complexity without needing to deconstruct it." Sarah watched as Zora showed a group of younger children how to dance with the labyrinth's light patterns. Children often see possibilities that adults have learned to ignore. They don't start with the assumption that something is impossible. The Concordat observers huddled in intense discussion, their crystalline forms creating intricate interference patterns as they communicated. Finally, the lead emissary turned to address the council. "In all our millennia of administering the stellar labyrinth, no species has ever approached it this way. Your children have not simply solved the puzzle, they have revealed an entirely new way of interacting with it. This suggests possibilities we had not considered." As the children continued to play with the ancient test, transforming what was meant to be a grueling challenge into something akin to an interactive art piece, Sarah noticed something extraordinary. The emissaries had begun to sway slightly, their movements synchronizing with the children's joyful interactions with the labyrinth. The universe, it seemed, had more to teach the Concordat about the nature of intelligence and progress than they had imagined. And humanity's greatest teachers turned out to be not their scientists or generals, but their children, who saw wonder where others saw only problems to solve. Dr. James Martinez stood at the viewport of the expedition ship Odyssey, watching the ancient space station slowly rotate against a backdrop of unfamiliar stars. Its architecture defied conventional geometry, with spiraling towers that seemed to bend light itself. After months of travel to the galaxy's edge, the joint human Concordat mission had finally reached its destination. The station's energy signature matches no known civilization, the emissary beside him observed, its crystalline form reflecting the distant starlight. Yet it responds to presence. It knows we are here. Maya Patel, now promoted to mission commander, studied the holographic readouts floating before her. The station's outer layer just changed its molecular structure. It's like it's inviting us in. The station had been discovered in the Concordat's archives, marked as an anomaly that had resisted all attempts at exploration. Its defense systems had repelled every logical approach, leading the Concordat to classify it as impenetrable. Until now. Look at these patterns, James said, pointing to the shifting surface designs. "They're similar to the protective symbols found in ancient human cultures. See how they spiral. It's like the Celtic Triskel or Merikoru patterns." The lead emissary's form pulsed with skepticism. "You suggest this advanced structure relates to primitive human decorative elements." "Not decorative," James corrected, his eyes lighting up with understanding. "These were symbols of journey, of transformation. They told stories." He turned to Maya. "Can we transmit images of Earth's ancient spiral symbols back to the station?" Maya nodded, her fingers dancing across the neural interface. The station's response was immediate and stunning. Its surface patterns began shifting, matching the rhythms of the Earth symbols perfectly. A doorway appeared, spiraling open like the unfurling of a cosmic flower. "It's not just responding to the symbols." Sarah Chen's voice came through the communication system from Earth. "The station's energy patterns show it's reacting to the emotional resonance in human brainwaves. It's reading the stories in your minds." The exploration team, consisting of both human and Concordat members, entered the station through the newly opened portal. Inside, they found chambers that responded to thoughts and emotions in ways that even the Concordat's advanced technology couldn't explain. These aren't just rooms, James realized as they explored deeper. They're narrative spaces. The station doesn't want us to solve it. It wants us to experience it, to understand its story. Maya discovered that humming old Earth songs caused certain corridors to illuminate, revealing paths that the Concordat's scanning technology had missed entirely. The station's AI, dormant for millennia, awakened not to their advanced quantum computers, but to a child's lullaby Maya remembered from her grandmother. "The station's core is activating," one of the Concordat scientists announced, their crystalline form vibrating with excitement. "It's sharing data, but not in any format we recognize." James stepped forward, studying the streaming symbols. "These aren't data points. They're constellations, star patterns, but seen from thousands of different worlds. The station is showing us how different civilizations viewed the same stars, told different stories about the same cosmos." The lead emissary's form shifted to a new crystalline configuration, one that reflected both light and shadow. "We sought to understand the universe through pure logic, through perfect mathematics. But this station suggests a different path to knowledge." As the station continued to share its ancient wisdom, the expedition team realized they had discovered something far more significant than advanced technology. They had found evidence that the emotional and intuitive ways of understanding the universe, which the Concordat had dismissed as primitive, might hold the keys to mysteries that pure logic could never unlock. The station's final chamber opened to reveal a map of the galaxy unlike anything they had seen before. It showed not just the physical locations of stars and planets, but the interconnected stories and songs that bound them together across the vast cosmic distances. The Singapore orbital platform transformed its vast central chamber into Earth's first interstellar cultural exhibition. Floating spheres of light illuminated performances from every corner of human civilization, while crystalline representatives from 100 alien worlds watched in fascination. Among them stood Aria Chen, Sarah's daughter, preparing to unveil her groundbreaking art installation. "Your display platform appears incomplete," a ruby-hued emissary observed, studying the seemingly empty space Aria had reserved. Aria smiled, adjusting her neural interface headband. "The art doesn't exist yet. I'll create it as we go, responding to the audience's emotions and the music. Every performance will be unique." The emissary's form flickered with what she had learned was their expression of doubt. Unpredictable art serves no practical purpose. How can it be evaluated without consistent parameters? Before Aria could respond, the chamber filled with the sound of impromptu drumming. A group of West African musicians had begun playing their gems, the rhythms echoing through the space station's corridors. To everyone's surprise, the crystalline being's natural resonance began harmonizing with the drums. "Their molecular structure is responding to the music," Maya Patel observed from her monitoring station. The rhythms are actually altering their crystalline lattice patterns. The Conquerors representatives found themselves experiencing something entirely new. Their perfectly ordered minds encountered chaos not as a threat, but as a source of possibility. As the drums continued, other Earth musicians joined in. A Chinese erhu player added flowing melodies, while an Australian didgeridoo provided deep, earthing tones. Aria's installation came to life, responding to both the music and the audience's reactions. Her neural interface translated the combined emotional and auditory input into flowing holographic sculptures. Colors and shapes danced through the air, transforming in real time with each new instrument that joined the spontaneous orchestra. The patterns, the lead emissary noted, its voice carrying an unfamiliar tremor. They mirror the ancient station's symbols, yet they are entirely new. How is this possible? Dr. James Martinez, fresh from his studies of the Edge Station, stepped forward. Human creativity doesn't just combine existing elements, it transforms them into something that never existed before. We don't just find patterns, we create new ones. The exhibition evolved beyond its planned program. In one corner, a Japanese tea ceremony attracted a group of silicon-based beings who had never understood the concept of ritual for ritual's sake. Near the station's viewport, a group of children taught alien visitors the simple joy of blowing soap bubbles in zero gravity. Your species appears to be in a constant state of adaptation, observed a senior Conquerors analyst, watching as Aria's installation responded to a classical Indian dance performance. Yet, instead of seeking to control this chaos, you embrace it. Ambassador Torres, who had been watching the proceedings with quiet satisfaction, replied, "Perhaps true stability comes not from resisting change, but from learning to dance with it." Each human culture found its own way to express this truth. The exhibition's defining moment came unexpectedly. A young Pakistani poet began reciting verses in Urdu, her words weaving through the chamber. Though the universal translators conveyed the literal meaning, it was the emotion in her voice that caused the crystalline beings to shimmer with new colors never before seen in their species. Aria's installation captured this transformation, creating a cascade of light and form that represented the merging of human artistic expression with alien perception. The result was something entirely new, not human, not alien, but a genuine hybrid of both cultures' ways of seeing the universe. As the day continued, more barriers broke down. The Conquerors representatives began attempting earth dances, their crystalline forms moving in ways their species had never considered possible. Humans learned to resonate with the aliens' harmonic communications, creating new forms of music that could only exist through the collaboration of both species. The exhibition had become more than a demonstration of human culture. It had evolved into proof that the galaxy's future lay not in the dominance of any one way of thinking, but in the endless possibilities that arose when different perspectives learned to create together. The holographic display in the Emergency Response Center showed the growing stellar anomaly in terrifying detail. 3 star systems lay in its path, each home to billions of sentient beings. The Conquerors' most advanced computers had failed to find a solution, their logical algorithms unable to process the chaotic nature of the phenomenon. Maya Patel stood before the combined council of Earth and Conquerors representatives, her hand steady as she manipulated the display. The traditional approaches aren't working because we're thinking about this the wrong way. We need to stop fighting the anomaly and start understanding its dance. Explain, demanded the lead emissary, its crystalline form pulsing with urgent patterns. Dr. Sarah Chen stepped forward, joining Maya at the display. We've been studying the ancient station's records combined with our own observations. The anomaly isn't just a destructive force. It's following patterns similar to Earth's weather systems. It's more like a cosmic storm than a weapon. The gathered representatives watched as Maya overlaid Earth's hurricane data onto the stellar phenomenon's movement patterns. The similarities were striking, though at a scale billions of times larger. Remarkable, whispered James Martinez, who had been analyzing the station's historical records. The ancients might have encountered something similar. Look at these narrative patterns. They don't describe fighting the storm. They talk about riding it. Area Chen, fresh from her success at the cultural exhibition, had been quietly working with a team of artists and scientists. Their latest project filled another section of the room, a massive, interactive model that translated the anomaly's energy patterns into visual and auditory forms. Listen to its rhythm, Area suggested, adjusting the neural interface that connected her to the model. The anomaly pulses in patterns, like music. What if we could harmonize with it instead of trying to stop it? The Conquerors scientists were skeptical, but recent experiences had taught them not to dismiss human intuition. As Area's team fed more data into their model, patterns emerged that the logical algorithms had missed. The anomaly wasn't random. It was responding to the gravitational songs of the galaxy itself. Maya's eyes lit up with sudden understanding. We could use the gas giants in each system, turn them into resonance chambers, not to block the anomaly, but to guide it. The next 12 hours saw an unprecedented collaboration. Human artists and musicians worked alongside Conquerors scientists, using their combined understanding of harmony and physics to develop a solution. They would transform 3 solar systems into a vast astronomical instrument, using the gravitational fields of gas giants to create a channel for the anomaly to follow. Like creating a new riverbed, Sarah explained to the council, we give the energy a path of least resistance, away from populated worlds. The plan was audacious, requiring split-second timing and coordination across light-years of space. The Conquerors provided the technological precision, while human intuition guided the overall flow of the operation. As the anomaly approached the first star system, the combined fleet took their positions. Maya, commanding the lead ship, felt the familiar sensation of intuition guiding her hands. Now, she commanded, and across 3 star systems, massive gravity generators activated in perfect sequence. The effect was beautiful and terrifying. The anomaly, responding to the gravitational harmonics, began to shift its course. Like a river finding a new channel, it flowed through the carefully created path, its destructive energy transformed into a cosmic dance of light and gravity. The pattern holds, reported the Conquerors monitoring stations. Population centers will be spared, but the energy readings, they're unlike anything in our records. As the crisis passed, the gathered species witnessed something extraordinary. The anomaly's passage, guided by their combined efforts, had created new phenomena in its wake. Stellar nurseries where young stars could form, their birth guided by the very forces that might have brought destruction. Sarah looked at her daughter Area, who was still conducting her part of the massive stellar orchestra they had created. We didn't just save those systems, she realized. We helped them give birth to something new. The Conquerors representatives, their crystalline forms shimmering with complex emotions they were only beginning to understand, recognized that this success marked more than just a rescued population. It represented a fundamental shift in how intelligent life could interact with the cosmos itself. 1 year after the stellar crisis, the observation deck of humanity's first extrasolar colony offered a breathtaking view of Alpha Centauri's triple stars. Dr. Sarah Chen stood beside her daughter Area, watching crystalline ships dance with human vessels in an orbital ballet that would have been unthinkable just months ago. Remember when they thought our emotions were a weakness? Area asked, adjusting her latest art installation. The holographic display responded to the combined brainwave patterns of humans and crystalline beings, creating ever-changing mandalas of light that represented their growing harmony. Sarah smiled, noting how the emissaries no longer maintained their rigid formations. Their ships now moved with a fluid grace that matched human vessels in their creative flight patterns. They learned that there's strength in embracing uncertainty, just as we learned from their precision and patience. The colony itself stood as a testament to this new partnership. Its architecture blended Conquerors crystalline technology with human artistic expression, creating spaces that evolved with their inhabitants' needs and emotions. Gardens grew in spiral patterns that echoed the ancient station symbols, while quantum computers ran on algorithms inspired by children's games. Maya Patel's voice came through the communication system, her ship leading another exploration team. You too might want to see this. We've found something remarkable in the star system's outer reaches. The main display activated, showing an asteroid field that pulsed with familiar patterns. It's responding to us, Maya continued, excitement in her voice, just like the ancient station. But there's something different about these signals. Dr. James Martinez, now head of xenorchaeology, joined the transmission from his research base on Earth. Those patterns, they're not just similar to the station's language. They're its evolution. The artifacts are learning, growing, changing with each new species that encounters them. The lead emissary, its crystalline form now shimmering with a rainbow of emotions it had learned to embrace, addressed the gathered observers. Our pursuit of perfection led us to stagnation. We sought to eliminate chaos from the cosmos, never understanding that chaos and order are partners in the dance of creation. As if to emphasize this point, a group of children from the colony ran past, playing a new game they had invented with young crystalline beings. Their laughter harmonized with the musical tones of their alien friends, creating melodies that neither species could produce alone. Ambassador Torres approached the window, her diplomatic role transformed by the past year's events. The Concordat once evaluated species based on their ability to solve logical puzzles. Now they're learning to look for different kinds of intelligence, different ways of understanding the universe. The evidence of this transformation surrounded them. Research teams composed of both humans and crystalline beings explored the galaxy with new eyes, finding wonder in phenomena that once would have simply classified and archived. Artists from 1,000 worlds shared their perspectives through areas pioneering quantum neural interfaces, creating experiences that transcended individual species limitations. "We're receiving a transmission from the Spiral Arm expedition," announced a young operator, her neural interface glowing softly. "They've made first contact with a new civilization. The universal translators couldn't interpret their language." Sarah leaned forward, expecting news of a diplomatic challenge. Instead, she broke into a smile as the operator continued. "But they responded to the children's songs we sent. They're requesting more music." The lead emissary's form pulsed with what everyone now recognized as joy. Perhaps this was the true purpose of intelligence in the cosmos. Not to impose order on chaos, but to find harmony within it, to create new patterns from the infinite possibilities before us. As Alpha Centauri's light painted the observation deck in shifting colors, Sarah watched humanity's first extrasolar children playing with their crystalline friends. They were growing up in a galaxy that was learning to value both logic and intuition, precision and creativity, tradition and innovation. The universe, they had discovered, was not a puzzle to be solved, but a song to be sung, a dance to be danced, a story to be told in countless voices. And humanity's gift was not just in adding their own voice to this cosmic chorus, but in helping others find theirs as well. In the end, the final hope of the cosmos turned out to be not domination or survival, but the endless possibility that arose when different ways of seeing the universe learned to see through each other's eyes.